Alright YouTube, so we are here with something a bit different on the main channel. I can't remember the last time we did a non-Final Fantasy VII Remake video, but I wanted to kind of talk about and review The Last of Us. So the way we do reviews on the channel is we just put some generic gameplay in the background and just kind of go over what I do and don't like about the game. Obviously this is going to have some spoilers in it. Before we hop into it, the gameplay you're seeing in the background is the Left Behind DLC. Now I was not planning on playing this before doing a review of the game. I just wanted to review the base game. But I happened to look it up and see that it was roughly about 2 hours, so I was like, let's complete that as well. But we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. On to the review itself. We usually do the good things first and then the bad things last. The story is probably the most important thing when it comes to this game. It's probably the reason why it's a lot of people's favorite games and why it's considered one of the best games in a long time. I'm not going to give you a huge breakdown of the story. For one, the game's 6 years old. Most people have played it by now that wanted to play it. And I'm not a lore guy when it comes to video games. I'm not the guy who's going to tell you exactly what's going on in the story. But the gist of the story is that Ellie is immune to the virus, the little girl I'm playing as in this gameplay. And Joel, the guy you play as through most of the base game, is trying to get her to the Fireflies, which are essentially the good guys. They're kind of a resistance group that are trying to fight the military oppression in the quarantine zones in the hopes of one day restoring the U.S. government. And they're the best option for people that could potentially make a cure or a vaccine out of Ellie's immunity. Speaking of infection, I completely forgot to mention why the game is post-apocalyptic. Now, again, I'm not a lore guy, so I apologize if I get some things wrong, but it's a cordyceps, plant-based fungal virus that's actually kind of based on some realistic science, some realistic things in the world that pretty much wipes out humanity. Now, of course, early on in the game, Joel and Ellie do not really like each other. Joel feels like it's a burden to try to get Ellie to these Fireflies, but as the story progresses, they grow more and more attached, and by the end of the game, he more or less treats her like his daughter, because at the very beginning of the game, of course, in the intro sequence, Joel loses his daughter. So by the end of the game, whenever Joel's finally referring to Ellie as baby girl, that was actually hitting the feels a bit. But by the end of the game, once you guys finally reach your destination and meet up with the Fireflies, you find out that they're going to have to kill Ellie in order to make a cure, because the fungus, the virus, attaches to the brain. They're going to have to remove her brain to make a vaccine. And Joel says, you know what? Fuck that.
You don't have to worry about her anymore. We'll take care of her.
I worry. Just let me see her, please.
You can't. She's being prepped for surgery.
The hell do you mean, surgery?
The doctors tell me the cordyceps, the growth inside her, has somehow mutated. It's why she's immune. Once they remove it, they'll be able to reverse engineer a vaccine.
But it grows all over the brain.
It does.
Find someone else.
There is no one else.
Listen, you were gonna show me where she...
Because this isn't about me, or even her. There is no other choice here.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that bullshit. I said keep walking. Where's the operating room? I ain't got time for this. Where? Top floor, the far end.
I just want to play most of that scene because it's probably my favorite from the entire game, that and the interrogation scene.
What the fuck?
Now, the girl. Is she alive?
What girl? I don't know no girl. Fuck!
Focus right here, right here. I'll pop your goddamn knee off. The girl.
She's alive. She's David's newest pet.
Where? Now you're gonna mark it on the map. And it better be the same exact spot your buddy points to.
I ain't alive. I ain't... Fuck you, man. He told you what you wanted. I ain't telling you shit.
That's alright. I believe him.
No, wait!
Everything about that interrogation scene is goddamn perfect. But I absolutely love the ending of the game. I love the selfish choice that Joel makes. He wants Ellie to live. He does not want her to die to save humanity. He views her as his daughter, does not want to be alone in the world anymore. Lost his daughter 20-something years ago. He says, you know what? Fuck humanity. It's that classic question, that trolley meme you might have seen, do you kill one person to save many? And Joel's answer is, no. So I spent more time talking about the story than I thought I would, but that's probably the highlight of the game. The most important thing, really, when it comes to The Last of Us, is the actual narrative. Moving past the story, my other favorite aspect of the game was probably the environments. If you are a post-apocalyptic fan, which I'm assuming you are if you played this game, you'll love every single part of the world that you walk into. They nail it to a T. Gameplay-wise, I enjoyed the game as well. It's pretty linear in terms of the direction you gotta go and where you gotta go, but you can branch off a little bit and find like hidden rooms and hidden loot and like collectibles and things. Combat felt good to me. The melee was surprisingly good whenever I had to use it, but of course you want to avoid that at all costs because you have limited supplies. Stealthing around locations is what you're going to be doing most of the time, and it's probably possible to sneak past most of the enemies and avoid conflict altogether, but of course I never did that. And there are some points of the game where you're forced to fight a lot, where you have to like fight waves of the infected. If I had to complain about the gameplay, it's that you're forced to move slowly through most of the game where Joel will do like this kind of slow jog type thing. But there's parts of the game where you're forced to flee from like infected and enemies or whatever, and you run like full sprint speed, and it's like, why can't I do that all the time? I was surprised to see that the game had a crafting system to it, and that you could kind of increase Joel's stats, and you could also upgrade your weapons. Like, I didn't know all that was going to be in the game. I didn't know what kind of game it was going into it. I just knew post-apocalyptic kind of survival, so it was nice to see those things. It's also nice to see that when it came to the crafting system, you can only carry limited amounts of the crafting items, 3 of each, and you can only carry 3 of each of the items that you can actually craft. So you can never really load up on anything, and when it came to the looting system, which factors into the crafting, you don't often find the crafting items full. Like, you'll find like half a cloth, or you might find like a fourth of alcohol, so you gotta actually loot a lot, go out of your way to loot the surrounding areas to be able to craft you a bunch of items that can help you throughout the game. But I love the looting system overall. I played the game on normal, which is always how I play a game for the first time, so I can enjoy it and also kind of get the hang of the game. And even on normal, the looting was pretty limited, because I went through like a whole chapter or two without any shotgun ammo. Now on to the bad things, or the things I didn't necessarily like about the game. Now I don't know how important some of these are, but I wrote down more than I thought I would. For starters, the thing that stuck out to me pretty early on in the game is that after the intro sequence, it jumps ahead like 20 years, yet somehow people are still driving around vehicles and gasoline still works. Which, if you know anything about gas, it does not last anywhere near 20 years. You're talking like maybe 2 years, and that's pushing it. You also loot food throughout the game, like candy bar looking things and canned goods to restore your health. And again, those are things that do not last anywhere near 20 years. I realize it is just a video game, and plenty of post-apocalyptic things are guilty of like using gasoline and finding food throughout the world and eating it several years after they would ever be good. But these are things that stuck out to me, man. They kind of break the immersion for me. You need to explain how these people are eating this food and not getting sick and dying from it, and how your vehicle is driving around. Now, when it came to the looting system, I did have one complaint with it, and whenever you go into, like, say, a house and you go into the kitchen, there'll be all the cabinets and drawers that are closed, and you might open, like, 2 or 3 of them, maybe, but you leave the rest of them closed. Now, if I'm looting a house for food or supplies, why would I not check everything? Again, it's one of those things that sort of pulls you out of the game. It breaks the immersion. It's like, I'm in a survival situation. I have limited supplies, limited food, limited ammo. Why would I leave drawers and cabinets unchecked? We can use the Fallout series as an example, drastically different style of games, but Fallout 3, which came out 6 years before The Last of Us, you go into a location, you can check pretty much any container. Not everything is going to have loot in it, but you can still check everything, which is kind of how a looting system should work whenever your survival depends on the things that you find around the world. Now, obviously, if there were more things to loot, that'd mean there'd be more loot in the world, which would kind of imbalance the survival aspect of the game, but I think you kind of get my point. One small thing that did bother me was the game having a lack of choices. Not that every game needs to have choices that have some sort of effect in the game, but this is definitely the sort of game where that could have been effective. Oddly enough, however, there are a couple points in the game where you can choose to do certain things. Like, for example, in the intro sequence, there's a guy that's trapped under some rubble. You can shoot him if you want to, but it has no effect. I shot him. Later on in the game, you meet Sam and Henry, and during a sniper mission, they both get down at the same time, and you choose to shoot one of the infected off of one of them, and Ellie shoots the other. But it has no actual effect, and I thought it did because Sam is actually bitten, ends up turning, getting killed, and then Henry, the older brother, shoots himself. It's a very tragic scene, but I thought that maybe my choice mattered there, so I ended up looking it up, and it has no effect which one you shoot. It just seems like a bit of a missed opportunity for that scene where it could have made your choice impactful depending on which infected you shot, would depend on who got bit, and that cutscene could play out differently. They both still could have died in some sort of way. Or like if the older brother got bit instead, turned, got killed, maybe the younger brother just kind of runs off and leaves because he's alone now or something, like because he's sad, depressed. I don't know how you do it exactly, but it would have been nice for the choice to matter. One part of the game that I definitely disliked that stuck out to me immensely was the part of the game where Joel gets impaled. So we set up the scene really quickly. At this point of the game, Ellie already has her own gun. She's been helping you fight enemies throughout most of the game. Like, she'll take her own initiative. Like, the AI will have Ellie sneak up behind enemies, jump on their back, and start stabbing and killing them herself. But at this point of the game, Joel goes to open a door, and this guy knocks him back against the railing, and they're fighting against this rail for about 12 seconds, and then they break through the glass and fall down, and Joel gets impaled on some rebar. Where was Ellie the entire time? To me, it just felt like super forced to have a tragic moment in the story because there's no logical reason why Ellie would not run up behind that guy and at least stab him with a knife, maybe even shoot him, anything. Like, why would she not help Joel in that situation? There's no logical reason for it. And my last complaint really is both a positive and a negative, and it's that the game is not long enough. It's a positive because I wanted to play the game more. I wanted to be in this world more, but it's a negative because it goes by really quickly. Even Naughty Dog has said that the game is roughly about 12 to 16 hours. That's not that long. So as an example, if you were to play this game for about 2 hours a day, which is a pretty reasonable amount of time, you could beat it in about a week, maybe even less. I'll be completely honest, as much as I loved The Last of Us, as much as I loved this game, if I had bought it back in 2014 for, $60 the full price, and beat it like in a couple of days, I'd have been pretty upset. The game does offer a New Game Plus feature where you can start up the new game and have kind of like your progress carry over, but there's actually no benefits to doing that really. Like, you don't get any like special costumes, no unique weapons, no new story things. There's nothing. You just play through the game again with increased stats and leveled up weapons. And I guess on to the Left Behind DLC. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, hopefully. It was pretty okay. I don't know how much it costs to buy separately. I don't know how much it costs when it's brand new. But again, it takes about 2 hours to beat. It took me a little bit longer than that, but I was following a guide to get the achievements. I got trophies, I guess, for PS4. I got all the trophies except for beating it on like the hardest difficulty. I played through it on hard, which was kind of nice because I played the base game on normal. The DLC fills in the gap of right after Joel gets impaled, and then it cuts to the next chapter, and you're playing as Ellie, and you're out looking for supplies and hunting and stuff. It kind of fills in the gap of what happened, and y'all are inside of a mall, and you're, again, looking for supplies to fix up Joel. You also get some flashbacks of Ellie. I'm not sure exactly how far back they go, but it's before she met Joel, and it's with her friend Riley, who you hear about briefly in the main game. Turns out it's actually not just her friend, it was like her girlfriend. But you already know what's going to happen because of the base game. Like, she tells Joel about Riley, how they both got bit, and they decide to wait it out instead of, killing themselves. And obviously, Ellie's immune. So you already know what's going to happen. So, I don't know. I didn't hate it. But I did enjoy playing as Ellie again, because you get to control her for just a little bit in the main game. If I had to make a complaint about it, I know it's like a standalone story/game, and you got to start out with nothing and kind of progress and earn weapons and things. But at this point in the storyline, Joel has every weapon unlocked, from, the first pistol down to the flamethrower. Why would she go looting some mall she doesn't know what's inside of it? In the world they live in, knowing damn well that that mall's probably full of infected, why would she not grab, like, some pistols, or some shotguns, or even the bow and arrow? Like, I have the bow and arrow in this gameplay, but I found that throughout playing the DLC. And you can also get your hands on a hunting rifle later in the DLC, but Joel already has all of that. So why would you not take that with her? Again, this may not matter to other people, or other people maybe didn't think about that or notice it, but it's the kind of thing I notice whenever I'm trying to immerse myself in a story. It's like, I don't see the logic behind it, because if I was in Ellie's shoes trying to save some guy's life and I'm going into this mall to look for supplies in a world full of infected plant zombie things, I'm taking all the weapons I got. But anyways, that's my review of The Last of Us. So happy to finally play this game. I am going to do a New Game Plus because I obviously want to get the rest of the trophies I did not earn. And regardless of how much of the video maybe seemed negative, I absolutely love this game. It's like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 for me. It's like almost a perfect game. The things I have complaints about are mostly arbitrary. But anyways, the video is long enough. Did not think the review is going to be this long. But now I can officially be hyped for the sequel later this year. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and want to stay updated with more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter at @dashingdavid. I'm a Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
We should have died before today. And a million ways we can die before tomorrow. But we fight for every second we get to spend with each other. Whether it's 2 minutes or 2 days, we don't give that up.